About the HBCUs and the black farmers, because I hear a lot of people criticizing Obama, saying that he hasn't done enough for the black community. What would you say to those people? I mean, other than what the statistics speak for themselves, but what would you say to those people to bring to light what he's done? What do you think his best accomplishment has been towards Black America?
I'm really trying to reshift the conversation. African American people have a long history of looking for the Messiah, looking for the one great black leader, be it Martin or Malcolm or Obama or any of our historical favorites, heroes and sheroes that have all the answers and come and lead us to the promised land. That is not the history of African people in Africa or here. It has always been a collective, collaborative leadership. That's what's going to work. There is no one person that we can look for to do it all. And why would you expect President Obama to do it all as president when there are two houses of Congress? The fact that he's passed this much legislation with a Republican minority in the first 2 years, and now trying to pass legislation with a Republican majority in the House is really somewhat phenomenal that he's been able to do what he has done. The question that I would ask our listeners and viewers to do is look in the mirror and ask what you've done for African people. What have you done for the black community? What contributions are you making beyond the individual self-interest ones for your family, for your career? Have you made a contribution to our people?
And what I would like to add to that is, of course, just like Don said, of course he hasn't, ended world hunger. He hasn't ended war. He hasn't brought peace to the Middle East. He hasn't done much to reverse what's going on in our environment. However, no president before him has either. And I think a lot of times we hold ourselves or those that look like us to unrealistic standards.
And neither did Jesus. Yeah. And Obama can't, and President.
But a lot of people thought he was Jesus. Spike Lee said it was going to be like BC and AD. That was his exact quote when Obama was elected. It's going to be like BC and AD. And Obama was the first person to say, hold up, I'm just a human being.
Well, if you've been watching public policy as I have for 40 years and been involved, it is like AD and BC. Okay. It really is. And we better hope that it continues for a second term. You asked me how I feel about African Americans who become Tea Party Republicans, and I think it's like chickens voting for Colonel Sanders and Native Americans voting for General Custer. It doesn't make any sense.
And what I want to,
however, what he has done, I want to add, is that he's done more in his first 9 months in office than Bush did in the same time period. Yeah. And of course, his record speaks for itself in terms of what he's had to undo that 8 years of Bush administration has done.
And that's what a lot of people.
And I don't think we give him credit for that and appreciate that.
Yeah, we're quick to forget. I think we're quick to forget how we got in this mess. I've talked to a lot of people, and they're blaming him for the reason, for us still being in Iraq and Afghanistan. I mean, he can't just leave tomorrow. I mean, he has to leave with things in good hands. But people are forgetting that was Bush's war. And like we talked about, like you said, those 9 months, he's actually tried to do everything that he said to do, that he was going to do in his campaign. And that's why I applaud the brother, because he said he was going to do this. He tried to do it. He might not have gotten the cooperation from the two houses of Congress, but he actually tried. But you brought up something.
And that may be his main fault, is that he probably tried to do too much.
Yeah. But moving on, halfway through Obama's presidency, we're in 2011 right now. 2012 was right around the corner. It seems like it was only yesterday we were watching that inauguration. But how would you rate President Obama's performance so far on a percentage scale? And what do you think he needs to improve on, or what are you most proud of with his presidency?
I'll give it an A- or a B+. And that's probably assessing him harder than it should be. You got to understand, and again, you got to pay attention to what President Obama, any president, faced when he took office. The economy had fallen apart. I was in Washington when Wall Street, the banks collapsed. The banking system actually collapsed in the United States, and it affected the banking system worldwide. And part of it was because of the need to reform Wall Street, that had taken those mortgage schemes and monetized them. So people in France, investors in Germany, were buying billion-dollar securities on a mortgage scam that fell apart, which created enormous strain on the worldwide. There's a global recession going on, not just one in America. He got Wall Street reform done. He reformed the whole credit card system. He reformed college student loans. I don't know whether many college students who receive financial aid, they ought to know, because 70% of our population at TSU receives financial aids. But the previous administration, the Bush administration, had given financial aids over to predatory lenders. So Chase Bank is making money off your going after financial aids and charging you a higher interest rate. Obama signed that away with a stroke of the pen within the first year that he took office. So considering what he was left with when he came in office, and nobody would know until you actually get all the books and they open up all the doors, and then seeing the kind of intelligence as well as principled integrity to try to figure out and craft some solutions to an economy that has collapsed, a banking system that has collapsed, a credit system that collapsed. We almost lost the auto industry all in the first year and won 2 wars and the housing industry. People are not getting mortgages refinanced. Houses aren't selling now. And getting all that done and getting health care reform and this other stuff true. Yeah, sometimes I wonder if he does walk on water sometimes up there in the White House.
Speaking on walking on water, and that's Jesus, I'm going to ask y'all to be the devil right now and play devil's advocate. Why should young brothers and sisters, after this conversation, I don't know why, but why should they consider voting for his Republican counterpart in 2012? Can y'all think of some reasons? We talked about some of the conservative social issues, and that may be one reason that some African Americans might vote for whoever it might be, Huckabee, Romney, or Palin, whoever it might be. Can y'all think of some legitimate reasons why you would think that an African American would vote for that Republican candidate in 2012?
Personally, I believe you would be shooting yourself in the foot. I mean, we have been known to act against our own self-interest. We do it all the time. So it wouldn't surprise me. However, I mean, in politics they have a saying: there are no permanent friends or permanent enemies, only permanent interests.
Yeah.
So if a Republican had a platform and he seemed to be speaking to our interests, or she, then I mean, I would think it should be considered. But the reality is, once they got in office, would they follow up or follow through and carry out what they promised? Which historically, it hasn't been the case. So, but what I think is most important before we even go to federal government on a national level is, like Judon said earlier, what are we doing? And I like talking about solutions. I like being practical. And it's sad that most black people don't even know who our local officials are.
True.
We don't know who over District D in 3rd Ward. We don't know whatever neighborhood we stay in. We don't know how to contact them. We don't know how to get things done, how to voice our concerns, our issues, those things that are important to us. So if you can't get active on a local level, and then you have the state and then federal, I mean, the fundamentals aren't being taken care of effectively in terms of us being informed, us being politically aware, being literate of what's going on in the world, in our immediate world. So it has to be a trickle-down effect or a domino effect from local to Obama.
More importantly, Edward, we seem disinterested. We seem to be, and this is, I guess, a stunning indictment of what I think our generation should have done. We obviously haven't passed on the lessons of history to you. I mean, I can look at my own children and see their level of civic engagement, and they're confused. But mostly, they're overwhelmed by day-to-day survival. They're trying to figure out how to find a job. They're trying to figure out how to struggle up and pay the rent. They're trying to get out of some trouble because they made some decisions 10 years ago or 15 years ago that has delayed their matriculation through college. So now, you see, these students that are listening in this audience and going to this university, you got to remember, you're the best we got. And the majority of African American youth don't go to college. And the majority of African American men don't attend college. So tell me what you're gonna do. What kind of work are you gonna do in the 21st century with a high school degree when there's no real market for manual labor? Well, that basically means, well, now let's come with another stat. 70% of all black babies are born out of wedlock. Well, now what kind of black family are we gonna have when the babies are starting out with the male figure, father, not present? So I mean, we've got to really, again, look at ourselves and look at our own families, because we don't have to look far to see where these issues are, because we're not disconnected from. But we've got to understand and begin to make an effort to be interested in finding information. How does my personal situation reflect back on public policy? If I'd voted, would it have made a difference? What does it mean when the state of Texas budget is cut $25 billion to Texas Southern University, to my financial aid? What does it mean when I can't get health care? Well, I have a 93-year-old great aunt who the doctor will not let stay with me at my home. She's not able to care for herself. They won't let me try to even take care of her. So she doesn't have Medicaid and Medicare, and so what can I do? Just abandon my aunt? No, I'm not going to do that. But that's the reality that some of us are making when we don't participate in ensuring that these social programs, who people are basically saying, nah, it's too much, we don't need this social welfare state. But then you go look at what's going on in the defense budget, and then you say you want to keep jobs at NASA, and so they said, well, you know, the next frontier is to go look at Mars. Okay, you're a scientist, I hope you know better than me, but I certainly think that my great aunt, my cousin, your college future is at least worth as much as a new bomber, as one of those missiles that they fired in the Libya that cost $1 million a piece. I think if we can do that, we ought to be able to do both, at the very minimum.